Do you like having a steady progression through Terraria, fighting harder bosses as your weapons scale with power? If your answer is no, you might want to consider fighting Duke Fishron Pre-Mech. Despite being regarded by many as one of the hardest bosses in the game, you can fight Duke Fishron right out of the gates of pre-hard mode, with a pretty good chance at winning. That is, of course, if you watch this video. I'm going to go over the best loadouts and strategies to minimize risk and maximize damage, giving you the ultimate pre-mech Duke Fishron guide. Let's start out with the most universal part of your loadout, the mobility items. You'll need some wings, the Shield of Cthulhu, amphibian boots, and any cloud and balloon variant or upgrade. Wings are wings. The shield is great for its dash, but you can also bash into Fishron and save yourself from getting hit sometimes. The amphibian boots and cloud and balloon both give you roughly 30% more ascent speed, as well as 30 miles per hour run speed and a double jump respectively. These 4 items will give you everything you need to evade Duke Fishron's attacks. Now for some defensive accessories, the Worm Scarf, Brain of Confusion, Cross Necklace, and Charm of Mist are all great options. I typically just use the Cross Necklace and Brain of Confusion, but you can use as many or as few of these as you want. Now into some more class-specific stuff, starting with melee. The Chain Guillotines, Bananarang, and Shadowflame Knife are all great options for their range and good damage. The Icicle, Amrock, and Dripper Crippler are all solid options as well, but they have kinda low DPS. If you are using the Amrock, I would absolutely recommend the Yo-Yo Bag. Otherwise, the Warrior Emblem, Putrid Scent, and Berserker Glove are all great damage accessories. This is probably the hardest class to fight Fishron with, but you have some strong options nonetheless. Ranged is by far the easiest though, with the Uzi, Dart Pistol, Onyx Blaster, and Daedalus Stormbow all being some of the best weapons you can use for this fight. The Clockwork AR and Repeaters are pretty good for how easy they are to get though, so you can use those if you're lazy like me. The Crystal Bullets are by far the best bullets to use if you have another weapon to apply Ichor. Otherwise, the Ichor bullets themselves are just fine. The Ichor darts are the best darts you can use, and even if you're on a corruption world, they're pretty easy to get, so just take the time to get some. For the bows, Ichor arrows actually gave me better results than holy arrows, so I would definitely recommend using those, especially because they have a higher velocity than the holy arrows, meaning you don't need the magic quiver. So just use the range emblem regardless of what weapon type, although you can use the magic quiver or Putrid Scent for some extra damage. For mage, the Crystal Serpent, Spirit Flame, and Sky Fracture all work great. The Cursed Flames and Meteor Staff are also decent, but they're not much easier to get, so I don't see that much reason to use these. For accessories, there are 2 ways you can go. You can just use damage and things like the Sorcerer Emblem or Putrid Scent, or you can use some mana accessories like the Magnet Flower, Mana Cloak, or Celestial Cuffs. I usually just use the Magnet Flower, but if I were to use a second accessory, it would be the Sorcerer Emblem. While the sharks from the Sharknadoes don't drop hearts when you kill them, they do drop stars, so the Magnet Flower is really nice for that. Summoner has 3 or 4 really strong loadouts you can use that are all vastly different from one another. The simplest one uses the Sanguine Staff and Firecracker with the Spider Armor. You can use the Snapthorn too, just to increase your whip speed. You should definitely use the Pygmy Necklace for this build, but the Summoner Emblem, Berserker Glove, and any Old One's Army accessories are all great alongside it if you want some more damage. Another great option is the Blade Staff with the Cool Whip, Spinal Tap, and Snapthorn used together. If you don't know what whip stacking does, in this case, it gives us a total of 19 tag damage, which is amazing for the Blade Staff even though it only benefits from 75% of it. Again, the Pygmy Necklace is the best damage accessory you can use, but the Summoner Emblem, Berserker Glove, and Old One's Arms accessories are great alongside it. And lastly, one of the hardest loadouts you can use for this fight, using the Spider Staff. You're going to need both the Firecracker and the Snapthorn for this. A lot of your damage is going to come in these tight windows, so the Snapthorn is great for getting as much damage as you can in that time. The whips are the real star of the show in this build, so we're going to be using the Obsidian Armor. I've tested it with Spider Armor and a more minion-based build, it's not as good. For accessories, your best bet is by far the Summoner Emblem. The Berserker Glove is good alongside it though. The Pygmy Necklace doesn't really give you much in this build because the spiders have a hard time hitting Fishron, and when they do, only 3 of them can hit at a time. And with a Summoning Potion and a Bewitching Table, you get up to 4 spiders. So I'd honestly recommend any of the Old One's Armors accessories over this. Now, probably the strongest loader you can use actually uses the Forbidden Armor with the Spirit Flame and Sanguine Staff. You can use any of the accessories I mentioned for Summoner or Mage, but I just use the Magnet Flower. Melee, Ranged, and Mage have 4 extremely powerful options for armor available, with my personal favorite being Palladium. The regeneration is just so good in this fight, and there is no better option for survivability. The Crystal Assassin Armor is another amazing set. With this set, you don't need the Shield of Cthulhu, and you can put in a damage or a defensive accessory. Even with a damage accessory though, the stats aren't as good as doing a mixed armor set, and the time to kill is slower than Titanium. Not to mention you lose out on the ability to bash into Duke Fishron and avoid taking damage, which is critical for the next armor set, Titanium. This is definitely one of the harder sets to use, but it does have the highest DPS out of all of these options. The titanium shards can protect you from Duke Fishron's bubbles sometimes, but ironically the best way to use it is just by bashing into him repeatedly. I'll show you how to consistently do this without getting hit shortly. And the 4.5 option is a mixed or adamantite armor set. For melee and range, use the adamantite helmet or mask, the frost chestplate, and the mithril leggings. These will give you the highest damage boost at the cost of a mediocre set bonus of adamantite. The adamantite mage set bonus is actually good though, so I would recommend using the full set for that. Again though, a Forbidden Armor hybrid build is your best bet if you're not doing any limitations. The Frost Armor by itself isn't exactly great, and the Orichalcum is pretty average as always, but you can use them I guess. And I suppose I should mention mount somewhere, pretty much just glorified cheese. The Golf Cart, Basilisk, Unicorn Mount, and Goat Skull are all pretty solid. For potions, the Inferno Potion is actually really good against Fishron because it helps break the bubbles. But sometimes one or two of them can slip through the cracks, so don't rely on it too much. You should also use Regeneration, Swiftness, Iron Skin, Endurance, Life Force, and Rage and Wrath potions. For a food item, the bacon is the easiest high tier food item to get because you can farm it from the pig Murdadas sold by the party girl. But if you want to settle for the seafood dinner, that's alright. Melee should use sake or ale and a flask of ichor. Range should use the archery potion for bows and maybe an ammo reservation potion. Mage should use the magic power and mana regeneration potion. And summoner should use the summoning potion, flask of ichor, and sake or ale. Of course, use the bewitching table, ammo box, sharpening stone, or crystal ball if you have those. Ideally, your arena should be as big as possible, more horizontal than vertical. Of course, use campfires, heart lanterns, and stars in a bottle, as well as bass statues, honey, and heart statues if you have them. Now finally, onto the fight. I'm going to be using the Spider Staff with the Firecracker and Snapthorn, the Obsidian Armor, and the Pixie Wings, Shield of Cthulhu, Amphibian Boots, Cloud in a Balloon, Cross Necklace, Brain of Confusion, and Summoner Emblem. I'm using this build to show a couple important skills like how to dodge at close range and how to cycle between weapons properly. With that being said, let's begin. Immediately, you can see I want to keep moving across my stage slowly, so I keep him going up and down so my spiders can keep up. On his last dash, I use the Snapthorn, and then I use the Firecracker while circling around him. You kind of have to do that at this range to consistently avoid the bubbles. Here, I want the Sharknadoes in one corner of the stage so I can avoid them more easily. I was above the Sharknadoes when they started firing, so I know I have to look out for the sharks on the way back down. Now I'm trying to get him back to the ground so my spiders can reach him more easily, and even though I forget to use the Snapthorn, I still get a ton of damage in. The Sharknadoes fire when I'm pretty low on the ground, so I have no problem flying over them here. Here I use my Snapthorn a bit too late and start my rotation late, so I do take a hit. Now we're entering stage 2, and this is where the things I mentioned become really important. You only have a few windows to get in a lot of damage here. In stage 2, he takes a page out of your book and starts rotating himself. It's very hard to get any damage in with this loadout with all the bubbles, so I just back off. He now summons one Sharknado that'll home in on you and spawn below you when it connects. If you are standing on a platform when it spawns, you will get hit for 300 damage. I learned this the hard way and lost a hardcore run to this, so don't make the same mistakes as me. It's even more important now to bring the Sharknadoes to the edge of your arena because they're bigger, last longer, and he spawns them more frequently. Here I can tell that none of my spiders are going to attach to Fishron, so I use the Snapthorn, summon a spider directly on him, and then use my Firecracker. Now getting into his third stage, this is arguably the easiest. Here I kinda just suck. But he'll cycle to doing 1 dash at you, 2 dashes at you, and 3 dashes at you. All you have to do to avoid these is jump up and fall down while moving slightly away from him. From what I can tell, he starts his next set of dashes a fixed distance away from where he last tried to dash you, on whichever side is closer. You can bash into him sometimes and avoid all damage, but sometimes you just get hit for 300 and that's not very fun. Keep this up, and in no time, Duke Fishron will be defeated, granting you some of the best loot available for a large portion of the game. This fight took me 5 minutes and 22 seconds, but how does that stack up to other weapons available? I compared 20 different weapons to see how fast I could kill Duke Fishron, and the results will shock you. I put a link to an unlisted video in the comments with all of these fights so you can nitpick at how much I suck and talk about how I did your favorite weapon dirty, and how it deserves to be so much higher. Anyways, I used Palladium for melee, ranged, and mage builds in this, but I'll give a time comparison on Crystal Assassin, Adamantite, Mixed, and Titanium later. I use the Pixie Wings, Shield of Cthulhu, Amphibian Boots, Bundle of Balloons, Brand of Confusion, and Cross Necklace in all of these. The only difference was in one accessory. I used the Yo-Yo Bag for the Amarok and the Warrior Emblem for every other melee weapon. For every ranged weapon, I used the Ranger Emblem. For every mage weapon, I used the Magnet Flower. For the Blade and Sanguine Staff, I used the Spider Armor and Pygmy Necklace. And for the Spider Staff, I used the Obsidian Armor and the Summoner Emblem. For melee and summoner, I used a Flask of Ichor. For ranged, I used a Dart Pistol with Ichor Darts. And for mage, I used the Golden Shower, just to give these all a fair comparison. The two worst are by far the Icicle and Amarok, both taking over 8 minutes. And here we have a textbook ranged moment with the top 4 weapons all being ranged. Or are they? Remember that hybrid build I mentioned a bit ago? That only took me 2 minutes and 35 seconds to kill. And I wasn't even using a damage accessory, I was just using the Magnet Flower. But maybe we haven't given the Uzi a fair shot. Here's a comparison between the Titanium Armor, Adamantite, Frost, and Mithril Mix Set, Crystal Assassin, and Palladium Armor. It's no surprise that Palladium took the longest to kill Fishron out of these, but I didn't expect the Titanium to be so good for it. Just bashing into Fishron off cooldown seems kinda risky at first, but there's one simple method you can use to make this so much more safe and consistent. By kiting Duke Fishron to dash downwards, if you just fly upwards at him and bash, you'll almost always avoid the hit. If you try and bash him while he's moving even slightly upwards, you'll almost always bounce up and end up getting hit. So it's really just not worth the risk there. Make sure to bash sooner than later so you have enough time to recover before he starts his next dash. And also, even if you avoid the hit from Fishron, if there are bubbles around, you can very frequently hit those. So just be patient and try and clear those before you bash. If I was better, I probably could have gotten this fight done in under 2 minutes with only one damage accessory, but I'll leave it to you guys to push it further. And on that note, thank you for watching. Hope you found this information helpful, and make sure to subscribe for future content. The growth here has been insane, and after only 2 videos, we're already at 500 subs, so I thank you all for that. But yeah, make sure to like and comment as well, and I'll see you in the next one.
Do you want me to start the houses? Where's the houses start? Right
I
here?
want to make the hooks first, so that if I fall off, I don't die. Do I make the lucky gem first?
Oh, we need the lucky gems. Okay, so the house starts here, right?
What?
Shoeiler!
I literally put the hook. Why is the hook so slow? I literally fall faster than the hook. What?